So I didn't think going into that game last night that we were going to know a lot about this team or we weren't going to learn a lot from this game. But I tell you what, man, I was surprised with how much that we got. I was very surprised by how many notes I kept taking, going, all right, we know, and I'm not talking about just clear like this team's better or the Lightning are going to win because they won 5-1. It's so much more than that. So much more than that. And I'm going to tell you why. First off, the guys that were in the game for Florida, the guys that will be in the lineup for game one, they didn't look that great. And I'm talking about the two guys that they acquired at the deadline, Seth Jones, first and foremost. I mean, when you watch Seth Jones, does he look like a guy that scares you? I don't look at him and go, wow, the defensive core for the Florida Panthers is so much better because Seth Jones is back there. Listen, he can skate. He's got a great shot. Don't get me wrong. But defensively, in his own zone, he leaves a lot to be desired. He's gotten progressively worse since the last time we've seen him. And it's great to look like, a daffodil in a dead field when you're there, and on other teams that aren't good, like the Chicago Blackhawks. He looks great out there, but defensively, even when the Lightning played him, I wasn't impressed. I wasn't like, wow, if he goes somewhere else, he's going to be fantastic. Last night, turnover, ends up right in the back of his own net. That's a guy that you're going to be counting on. I don't trust him at all. Brad Marchand, another guy, and I know he scored a goal last night. He is clearly not the same guy as he was a couple of years ago. Listen, is he going to score goals on the rush? Does that mean that a guy's skating well? No. But if you look at a guy like Brad Marchand in years past, and there was a play last night where he was able to kind of stick handle around near the Lightning blue line, and he just wasn't able to get away from anybody. His foot speed is gone. We saw that for Team Canada in the Four Nations. We saw it with Boston this year. Listen, his hands are going to be there. His leadership's going to be there. He's going to be in the right spot. His mental game is going to make up for what he's lost physically, but he needs to skate. And if he can't skate and his speed is not an asset, I don't think he's going to be that much of a factor or as much of a factor as the Florida Panthers initially thought. Now, you look at some of the other guys that they have in the team, like Sam Bennett's a good player. I think he's going to be fine. And we know we didn't see, Reinhart and also Alexander Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk. And something that I heard, and I don't know if you've heard this, and I don't know if anybody else has announced this yet, but there was a discussion in the press box last night that Matthew Tkachuk may not be ready for game one of the series against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I wouldn't be surprised if he missed game one. He's clearly not 100%. And for a guy that hasn't played since the Four Nations, I mean, you can't think, if you're a Florida Panthers fan, like, I think you're in la-la land. You're in la-la land if you think that you're just going to win this series because you were the Stanley Cup champions last year. Newsflash. Take it from people that have already been in that situation. Last year was last year. This year is this year. And I look at the way that these two teams are put together and how they're playing. And again, it doesn't always correlate as far as like, all right, if you're playing well, you're going to play well in the playoffs. But I'm just talking about their team as it's constructed and how they've played this year. Aaron Ekblad hasn't played in 20 games. You're going to trust that he's going to be able to come back and do the job? Matthew Tkachuk is going to all of a sudden be 100% healthy and going to play a physical contest game one on the road in Tampa Bay? I don't know about that. I don't trust Seth Jones. I don't trust Brad Marchand. I don't trust that the depth that they lost, the atrophy, as Greg Wyshynski said on the program yesterday, that happens when you're a Stanley Cup winner. You don't realize until it's too late. And we saw it with the Lightning. We saw it. Yeah, they were able to win 2 cups. They were able to go back to a third. But they didn't win that third. And then after that, what happened? A slew of first-round exits, whether it's to the Panthers or the Maple Leafs. The depth was challenged. And I look at how the Lightning have put this team together. I think not enough people are talking about one guy on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Not enough people are talking about Jake Guentzel. The quietest 41-goal season that you're ever going to see. This is a guy that has scored and played well wherever he has gone, whether it was with Pittsburgh with Sidney Crosby, whether it was with Carolina last year at the deadline, and now here with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It doesn't matter if you put him with Point and Kucherov, or Cirelli and Hagel. The dude just scores and makes smart plays. He turned the puck over once last night, and everybody went, "Oh my God!" Like you rarely see that. He's such a smart player. Not enough people are talking about the contributions from Jake Gensel and what he can do in a playoff series and why. Like that's another guy that you put in there. You go, okay, that's a guy you didn't have last year against Florida. I was worried about the depth of this team up front, but two guys have been added since the trade deadline that I think are going to help in a big way. One of them is Yanni Gourde and one of them is Connor Geekie. And I want to talk about Connor in a second. Yanni was flying last night. He was all over the place. And if you guys noticed something, did you guys pick up the first 5 or 6 minutes of that game? Florida came out and they tried to bring the intensity of a very physical hockey team. And it was almost just like a little appetizer, a little taste of what playoff hockey is. That first 5 minutes, forechecking and just physical battles back and forth. And it was almost like with the guys that were doing it, like the Mikolas of the world and the Sam Bennett's of the world, guys that are going to be in the game. I'm not talking about guys that won't be in the game, guys that will be in game one. It was almost a test of like, all right, where are you at, Lightning? Are you guys going to meet us here? Or are you going to let us push you over? Or are you going to let us bulldoze you like we saw last year? This team wasn't tough enough. They weren't physical enough. They didn't play defense well enough. They turned the puck over in their own zone. And you saw the Tampa Bay Lightning answer the bell. That's why guys like Lilleberg are in there. He had a couple of real nice hits last night. Mitchell Chaffee, more on him in a second, and our prayers go out to him. He had a physical up component to his game. I saw Gage Gonsalves throwing the body yesterday, and then Yanni Gourde flying around like a freaking maniac. That's what he brings. I'm not anticipating that Yanni Gourde's going to go out there and score 12 goals in the playoffs. I could give two shits if he does that. Go out there and hit people. He's the smallest guy in the ice with the biggest heart. And his contributions to this team, you saw it a little bit last night because what he was able to do, he was able to rein that game back in. Oh, last year, you wanted to take liberties physically with the Lightning? Not this time. 37's back. 27's back. And how about J.J. Moser? He's another guy that, again, the Lightning are much better in like 4 or 5 spots than last year. And I don't think you can say the same thing about the Florida Panthers. We're going to take a deep dive into the preview here in a couple of days. But I just, watching that game last night, and of course, there's no Barkov, there's no Reinhart, and I understand Tkachuk is hurt. But the guys that were in the game that are going to play game one, I just, with the Lightning having home ice advantage, with having a guy like Andrei Vasilevsky who's back on his shit, and then defensively, the focus on defense, that's what I love to see. It's not about how many you score, it's about how many you keep out. And as much as we've been talking about the health and picking up some injuries, great to see Darren Raddysh back in the lineup last night. And he scored a goal. Fire that puck. I'm always busting his chops about that. Shoot the puck. He did that last night. 5 different goal scorers last night. Gensel, Point, Kucherov, Geekie, and Darren Raddysh. For some of the injury concerns, you got 7 healthy blue liners. And if you're going to go 11-7, it'll help you at home, but it'll sure as hell help you on the road. I think that the Lightning know where they're at. I think they're happy with their team. And I know somebody in the comment section put something about Isaac Howard. No Isaac Howard. None. Don't worry about Isaac Howard. He's not coming up. I don't think we're going to see him. I think he misplayed his hand grossly. And, if he never plays for the Lightning, that's his loss. Because what do you think is going to be going through the head of Isaac Howard if the Lightning win the Stanley Cup? You think he's not going to care? He's going to be like, damn, did I go about this the right way? Or maybe he doesn't care. But I trust Julian Breezeball in a situation where if he's got to move the guy, if he's got to go bring somebody else in, he's done it before, he'll do it again. Guys have any comments about the Lightning, feel free. Hop on the link right there, StreamYard.com/WICJVE3EXK. The main focus for the Bolts is going to be health. Healthy. You're going against a team like the New York Rangers tomorrow night. Their season's over. You're going to see a lot of, Chris Kreider, Mika Zibanejad, probably their last game in Ranger sweaters. A lot of young guys out there. I think guys are going to be playing for next year. I don't know hopefully you don't see anything, no more Jacob Trouba there. So I think you should be okay. But don't think you're going to see a bunch of Kucherov. Don't think you're going to see a bunch of Braden Point. You're going to see a lot of probably Jonas Johansson in net. You're going to see a bunch of Mitchell Chafee if he's back in the lineup, a bunch of Gage Gonsalves. And, you can't sit a bunch of guys. Cam Atkinson got called up today because of the injury to Chafee. So you probably see a bunch of Cam Atkinson, Zemgus Girgensons. We did see yesterday at morning skate Luke Glendening out on the ice. So it's a shoulder injury from what we're hearing. So I look at that situation where hopefully he's going to be in there. But I like Zemgus, man. I really do. Poor Zemgus Girgensons. That guy gets so many opportunities to score, and he just can't find the back of the net. But he works so freaking hard. I mean, you look at Zemgus. How many times does he win puck battles? It's insane. Insane. He is such a freaking hard-nosed. He's strong as hell. He's fast. And just, my God, man. I just feel so bad for the guy. Dave Terry, I'm sure you remember our 5-on-5 last year were a whole of a lot better 5-on-5 this year. Yeah. So now, and if you remember the conversation we had with Greg Wyshynski yesterday, you're not so reliant on your power play like we see with the Rangers, right? 5-on-5. Good stuff. Joel, I just hope we can show up our D zone. We can't let the Panthers get up on us early. Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. But I look at what the Lightning have been able to do this year as a team. I mean, defensively, they are miles better than they were last year. Miles. So, I'm looking at goals against this year. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys this right here, NHL.com. Share the screen. Bada bing, bada boom. Look at that, guys. The Tampa Bay Lightning, third in goals against. That's how you win. That's how you win in the playoffs. That is why I look at this team and I say they have a much better chance to go deep this year than in years past. That right there. Giving up only 212 goals. And Florida's, this is how they're built too. 223. Okay, let's look at last year. Goals against. Florida was number 1. Where were the Lightning? 23rd. So these are two teams going in opposite directions. Florida Panthers, listen, 198 given up last year, 223, almost 0.3 of a goal more this year. That makes me feel a lot better when it comes to this team, making sure they keep the puck out of the net. All right. Before we talk some Buccaneer football, I want to talk about one guy, and the guy to keep an eye on over the next couple of weeks is Connor Geekie. Now, two things stood out to me about Connor Geekie last night. Number one, when Jesse Puljujarvi had that cheap-ass dog shit hit on Mitchell Chafee. And I hate that. That kind of hit is such a chicken shit move because you're trying to hit the guy and not hit the guy. You're just trying to clip him, and all you do is shoulder a guy right in his face in open ice. Like, you're not trying to really hit the guy. You're just trying to get it and do it and dip your toe in the water. That's such a bullshit move. I hate that. Hate that. There's no room in the game for that, right? You hit a guy, these freaking cheap blindside hits. Like, there's no room for that. He got a 5-minute match penalty. Well-deserved. So again, Connor Geekie. First thing, standing up for Mitchell Chafee after taking that big hit. He was the first guy in there. He even got a penalty himself, which, it prevented the Lightning from having a 5-minute power play. It was only a 3-minute power play because he had a 2-minute roughing call, but the Lightning will take that 7 days a week and twice on Tuesday nights. That is a sign of a team sticking up for each other. That's a sign of a cohesive group, and that's a sign of a young kid that gets it. The other thing that stood out to me about Connor Geekie was that he scored his second goal in as many nights, or second goal, excuse me. He scored his second goal in as many games, and it was how he scored that goal. Connor Geekie, a one-timer off of a Braden Point pass. Kucherov to Braden Point to Connor Geekie. How does that sound to you? Sounds great to me. I want more of Connor Geekie with 21 and 86. I think Connor Geekie is the closest thing to Andre Palat that we have seen since Pally left for New Jersey in free agency. And I think he's got more offensive upside. He's a left-handed guy who's got quick release. He's a big dude, not afraid to play a physical game. I know Yanni Gourde's the guy in that spot right now. But to me, Connor Geekie playing with Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov, that could be the best line in the playoffs. Because that is going to force that kid to shoot the puck. Keep shooting the puck. He has an incredible release. And when you're playing with Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point, you know that you're going to have open ice, and you know you're going to have opportunities to fire the puck on net. So please, John Cooper and the Lightning coaching staff, at some point, I want to see Connor Geekie on a line with Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov. Line 2 will be Hagel and Cirelli and Jake Gensel. Line 3, then you have Yanni Gourde with Nick Paul and Gage Gonsalves, who is just getting better and better every single game. And then your fourth line is some combination of Chafee and Glendening and Gergensons. Maybe if Bjorkstrand comes back, you have maybe a couple of guys in the AHL you can use in the playoffs, because then there's no salary cap. It just makes a lot of sense. So again, Coop, staff, Connor Geekie. That's the guy right there. And for all the people that are talking about Isaac Howard, give me Connor Geekie. Give me a guy that's already played in the NHL this season, that's got a body that you're not worried that is going to break down, or a guy that's not going to be able to be defensively responsible in his own zone. Those are questions that we didn't know the answer to when it came to Isaac Howard. But we know that about Connor Geekie.